You have wasted your entire life, but it's okay. What does the it's okay mean? Well, the it's okay means that there's no reason to be frenetic about it. And there's no reason to try and feel good about it. Because if you try to feel good about it, you'll just chase your own tail. If you become frenetic about it, what is the freneticism going to do? Is the freneticism going to take you somewhere to where you stop wasting your life? So any reaction that you have is irrelevant. That's what it's okay means. It's okay also means that up until now you've wasted your entire life. But tomorrow is going to be the same as today. So it isn't like today's going to be the last day you waste your life. And from now on, things are going to be different. Nothing is going to be different. Because if something is going to be different, it would have been different from at least the middle, if not the beginning. Now, sure, there's a possibility that there's a rare individual who has not heard this information before, and therefore he is exposed to a truth that perhaps he has resonated with tonight, and this produces a shock to the system and sends him veering off on an entirely different course. Sure, that's possible. That's possible. That possibility can never be denied. But for virtually 100% of the individuals listening to this, the it's okay means that nothing's going to change. Because the reason is that your love of socialization, your interest in your iPhones, your passion for the societal ways of doing things, the trying to impress your friends and coworkers, the binge watching television serials, the following one prescription and how-to and method and hack after another, the trying to better yourself through self-help books and spirituality, the practicing meditation, mindfulness, and various different austerities in order to become more spiritual or more better, none of which mean anything. All of those things are not going to change. They're not going to change not because you should change them or because you're doing it wrong. They're not going to change because within you is an undeniable belief that those things actually mean something. And because you're attached to the idea of meaning and purpose, spirituality and society and self-help and self-development and the gurus and the motivational speakers and the priests and the pundits and the best-selling books and the authors and the media and everything has done a number on you that is so complete, so unwavering, and practically irreversible that is just complete. There's no coming back. The assault is simply too great and the conditioning is too deep. Therefore, you will continue to waste your entire life. And what does it mean to waste a life? To waste a life means that you have wasted an opportunity. And nothing that I say should there be ever a should attached to it. It isn't that you should not waste this opportunity. You shouldn't do anything or should do anything. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. But the opportunity to find truth or realization or understand who you truly are. But because society has conditioned you to seek happiness and pleasure behind every street corner, your entire day is completely and utterly devoted to the search for small doses of pleasure, which you attempt to gather into large doses. And that becomes your entire life, is one large, never-ending chase. And that will never end. and you will never change. And this is not reverse psychology, because I could not care less if you change. It isn't about changing. The person who changes back. It is about understanding. It is about realization. And humans are not wired that way because of the societal conditioning to seek understanding. They are wired to seek prescriptions and how-tos and methods and techniques and 5-step plans and the latest hacks from Silicon Valley gurus and reading the latest books about Stoicism and the self-important philosophical nonsense that everyone wants you to read. And it is just intellectualism in various forms. No one ever gets anywhere doing that. They just try to get better so that they can go to cocktail parties and demonstrate how many books they've read and how intellectual they are, how smart they are, and see if they can rattle off a few new quotes that they have read so that they'll gain social standing in the social environment. And that will never change because the human is subservient to his own ego. He's an egoist. He seeks only to prolong and adorn his persona. And because these things are so deep within the human being, the possibility of that going away is basically zero. There may be one individual, maybe one. And that, to be honest, that one that's out there, or two or four, are very unlikely to have found serendipitously this podcast. So therefore, there are none. You can ask questions if you wish. If it is sincere, it may receive a response. If you are invited onto stage, you may ask your question. Do not raise your hand unless you're ready to ask a question. If you are invited on stage, you may ask your question immediately. Do not ask if you are audible. Simply ask your question if you wish. If it is a nonsensical question, if it is a top-of-the-head question, if it is how do I conquer my mind in 3 words, unserious people who spout unserious questions don't receive responses. You may begin.
Hello, thanks for your time. I just wanted to ask if you think that you have wasted your life.
Yeah, hi, Kapil. I realized that I've wasted my life and I am wasting my life. I want to stop doing this. I wouldn't ask you how, but I feel that I sometimes feel that I have a speak about because your words hit me, it resonates with me deeply. So there must be some DNA between, but I'm still wasting my life. I sometimes get inspired, but it just eventually does not like really last. So is there a refuse? Is there a way that we can not stop, that we can stop wasting our life?
There's no way. It is when the desire to stop wasting it becomes or arises to a fever pitch. You know, one has to understand the depth of his conditioning. One has to understand the depths of their longings for societal things without immediately jumping towards the idea of leaving the world or leaving society and moving to a cave. This requires, like everything, it requires a sincerity, a seriousness, and a maturity. The maturity lies in understanding. And understanding has nothing to do with blaming oneself or saying that one is wrong or bad and therefore one is wasting their life. It has nothing to do with outrage. It has everything to do with understanding why it is and how that's so. That mature individual who seeks to truly understand is the one who has a chance.
Hey, Siddha. Out of the clients that you've worked with, do you think that their readiness for truth was more about them and their DNA, or was it more of a result of their exposure to you?
I mean, I can't really answer that for anyone. I mean, the individual themselves must answer that question. But typically, what happens is that things intersections between people happen for a reason, and some universal reason that it's difficult to say with certainty. But the individual who tends to resonate with my words, he tends to be an individual who is willing, or has a willingness, or has always had a willingness to go against the grain of society, and tends to be an individual who has demonstrated seriousness in other parts of their life, such as their career, and becoming highly successful, which tends to be the individual who I work with, because those individuals have already demonstrated that level of sincerity in their life and seriousness, to where they have gone through many things in order to achieve, fairly high level things in their life. And so a person who already has demonstrated that in other parts of their life means that they have it within them. And so for whatever reason, they happen to resonate with the words, and then things begin to, I don't know what takes place from there and doesn't take place from there. There's never really an attempt on my part to change them or anything. But it's a very organic thing. I will say it that way, as opposed to a forced or a prescriptive type of thing. But it is for the rarest individual. It is for the most serious individual who does not make excuses about time or money, or it's too deep, or whatever it may be. Excuse makers are a dime a dozen.
Hey, Siddha. So, do we have any control over these things? Do these things happen to us, or can we do something?
I don't know what you mean by these things.
Finding truth.
I don't know what you mean by control.
In the sense, can we do things, like in the sense work towards it?
No, that's a very colloquial and societal concept, to work towards something. No, there's no homework you can do. You cannot work towards it, but you can have an exposure to it. But even exposing yourself to it, if you think that I'm going to now expose myself and then look over every corner, look behind your shoulder for 5 minutes to see if it has come, that isn't sincere. The individual who comes to me is the individual who has no choice.
Hey Kapil, do you believe that the feeling of having wasted one's life is somewhat driven by a fear of missing out, and rather it is important to look within and see what your self-image is and appreciate what you already accomplished or doing? Thank you.
No, I don't believe in any of those things, and I don't think those were real questions. They were just what you believe, and you're looking for confirmation and permission.
What can you do when educating a child to increase his chances of not wasting his life?
The most important benefit for any child is to be around a person who is devoted to truth.
Hi, Kapil. So my question to you is a little similar to what the last speaker asked. Suppose I were your child. So what conditioning or what thought process would you have given me that I see through things and I do not waste my life?
I wouldn't have given anybody anything. It is things do not happen by giving someone something. There is nothing anyone can give to anyone. But it's what exudes from someone. And what someone exudes, those are the things that others either pick up on or don't.
What is the fundamental reason, the deepest root cause behind unseriousness?
I don't know why one becomes serious and why the majority remain unserious. I'm not sure if it's just a fundamental DNA. I don't know this definitively, but perhaps one could entertain the possibility that an individual who demonstrates seriousness in other endeavors almost has the DNA for it. They just tend to look deeply into things. They tend not to be cosmetic chasers. And where that comes from, I don't know.
Hello, Siddha. I was going to ask you about someone, like you said, you have certain clients that are high level and they're very serious. They make a lot of money. Surely these are people that are doing the absolute most to manage their time and utilize the most of their time. So would you also preach the same message to them that they have wasted their life, even if they're in the top 1% of their industry and they're considered sharks or workhorses in that industry? Would you still give the same message to them like they've wasted their entire life?
Well, success isn't everything. So the wasting of someone at least who becomes a success has utilized X% of their talent, as opposed to someone else who basically goes to bars every night and drinks alcohol and socializes with his beer drinking friends. I mean, that's just a waste. That's just a waste of oxygen. That isn't even a human being. He's just an insect. So someone who actually uses his talent to some degree has wasted obviously less of his life. But I would say yes, the majority, almost everyone wastes their life because they do not look deeply into the ways in which they are conditioned. They do not look into the direction of truth, because the pull and the attraction towards prescription and doing and acting and actionable things and spirituality and self-help, have an individual who completely turn his back on everything, not as in a prescriptive way, not because they think they should or because they think it's good, but because they genuinely see the emptiness of everything, even their own opinions of things. That's just a rare human. Rare humans are rare. So it's the rarest human who not only becomes a success, and success isn't even required, but not only one who becomes a success, but one who actually moves in the direction of conquering life.
Hello. What would you say to people that maybe they feel that they're interested in something and are pursuing it, or they feel that that is the thing they want, but then it evaporates like an illusion, and then it's something else? Like,
well, of course it is. That's everyone's experience. You must be new here. That's everyone's experience. Everyone's a chaser. Everyone's a pleasure chaser. Everyone's looking for one dose after another. Ha ha, he he with their stupid friends. Socialization, social media, this and that, Instagram, whatever it may be. That's what everybody does. No one gets fulfillment in anything. So what you're saying is basically, knowledge 101. That's what everybody does. So I wouldn't say anything to anybody. It is, you being new to this, you're, if you wish, not that you should, but you're best sitting in the back.
Namaskara, Siddha. Thank you for having me to the stage. So I just wanted to clarify. When you say wasted, do you basically mean that a person who lives life in a conditioned way, in a programmed way, living by society's narrative of low expectations?
I didn't hear a question.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I heard you, but I didn't hear a question.
No, I'm wondering your definition of wasted. When you say, have you wasted your
wasted,
life?
Wasted in every sense of the word. Like the trash you take out on Tuesdays.
Hi, Dr. Kab. Thanks for giving me the chance to speak. I just want to ask a question. For me, I'm very comfortable with the idea of wasting my life just to find out what is true, seeking what is true. So I've been experimenting my thought process recently. I've been journaling a lot. I've been doing meditation and all that. I'm trying to explore myself in a deeper sense, trying to find patterns of behavior, like how I am reacting around certain things. So it's like a self-discovery journey for me. And I found out I am more of an egomaniac person. Like I care more. I'm talking about ego in a sense of pride, but I'm talking about ego I define this world more in a physical,
So
material.
what's your question?
I'm just trying to ask, like, hey, I see my strengths and weaknesses, but like, if I see my strengths and weaknesses, and I just see that the side that I'm leaning on it's not good, like seeing the world as a materialistic thing, and I'm trying to focus more on spirituals.
Okay, I don't hear I hear a diatribe. I don't hear a question. What's your question?
All right. I'm just trying to explain. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just trying, like, if I embrace my weaknesses, is that like, hey, I'm not wasting my life as I just embrace everything that I have?
There's no rules and there's no definitions. If you think you're wasting it or you don't think you're wasting it, that's up to you. It really is a sincere examination and a self-expressed honesty as to whether one is. And even if you're honest with yourself, you don't get points for being honest either. So either, a given individual will be horrified by the fact that he's wasting his life, and therefore he will move towards truth. That, like I said, will be 1 in 100 million. And the rest there's no choice, there's no chance. And so there's no me telling you that what you just said, no, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, you're wasting your life, you need to do something else. Whatever, if you feel like doing that and that's what you're moved to do, then that's what you're moved to do. I mean, there's no rules.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you. In the rare occasion that you are that individual, that rare individual, how do you know when to start? Let's say that you have been, that your mind has been tricking you into the illusion that it is society and that you need to accomplish all the things that society wants you to. How do you know, or how do you decipher that balance where you need to move forward?
There's no balance. I mean, there's no time. There's no, like, you should begin on Thursday. If you begin because you have no choice but to begin. In fact, it isn't a before and an after when the beginning happens. Typically, the beginning has happened a long time ago with individuals who have the DNA for it. They when they look back at their lives, they see that they've always sort of been moving in that direction. It isn't just out of the blue one day they decide. It isn't a conscious decision. So, but human beings tend to be more attracted to societal things in society at large. So if wherever one's sincerity moves in the direction of, be it truth or society, then that's where it moves. But there's no how do I know when to begin?
Thank you.
Hi, Sila. A very quick question. Is a life, based on what you think, is a life focused on leaving a legacy for your children and grandchildren a waste?
Well, I could answer your question, but you're not ready for the answer. Because your question is actually a comment in the form of a question. You believe that it is based upon legacy. Therefore, whatever I say won't have any meaning to you.
Hi, Siddha. So I see when you say that I've wasted my life, and that creates a disturbance in me. It has happened multiple times earlier. And what usually ends up happening is I pick up pursuit, which I think is a noble pursuit now. I end up spending a lot of time and energy into it. And after some time, I realize that is also empty. It's not like this bad or good. It's not giving me whatever I imagined it will give me later on. And I'm at this point where I see that all of the things that I can pursue right now, whether it was my career, skill, art, good things, but it does not give me that thing that I'm looking for. It's always something is missing at the end. And now there's this disturbance, and I go back to my old habits because at least they provide me with a distraction where I don't have to be thinking about these sort of things because they pain me.
What's your question?
What can I do from here?
What's your question?
So I realize there's a disturbance inside of me, and I see no pursuit that will fulfill it from now. Now I'm stuck. If there was something I was holding on, maybe I'll be better in my career, or I'll follow philosophy and figure this out. At least I would have gotten a path to channel.
You're going on and on. What's your question?
What do I do from here? How do I get out of my depression?
There's nothing to do. The only fulfillment is truth.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, what happens when we abolish the self-image?
That's just a window dressing question, because no matter what I say to you, it will not be in your experience. Therefore, it'll just be descriptive words that won't have any meaning.
Hi, Kapil. I've felt the desperation that you've described when I've realized that everything in my life was false. And I think I know, you know what I'm talking about. I think you wrote about it with The Other World, where everything was based on lies. And I felt that desperation for freedom, but it then disappeared, and then it came back, and then it disappeared. And I guess it feels as if I end up defaulting back toward the desire for pleasure. So I think is the understanding that I'm missing, that is it starting to go from intellectual to visceral, and it's not airtight visceral? Is that the reason why the desperation doesn't stay? Because
the desire for society and prescriptions and the chases is still very strong. Therefore, it will always take precedent. It's just a matter of time before that tide rushes back in after a few moments.
Hi, thanks for having me on stage. My question is, once you have reached a level of introspection that allows you to realize that you have undergone societal programming that's led you to the point of wasting your life, is arriving at this point something that should elicit joy, sadness within you, or is knowing that you've truly arrived at this point, knowing that there is no way that you should feel, but rather that getting to that point is just the experience in and of itself? I hope that makes sense.
So this is a very mature question, and quite honestly, by the cadence of your speech, with the very beginning of your sentence, I could sense the maturity and the sincerity in your question. So I will answer it. There is no predefined way that one should or should not feel, and quite honestly, even if one did feel joy, that joy isn't the reason to do it. That becomes its own chase. It really is rather that if one finds himself repeatedly returning to the examining of the ways in which they have wasted their life and the ways in which they have been societally programmed, the very fact that they keep returning to that demonstrates, for whatever reason, an inner desire to truly want to look into that, which demonstrates further a desire to perhaps move towards truth.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me up. I would say I've arrived at places in my craft that have been unimaginable for me in my past, but I continue to devote myself to my art. But I noticed that time is something that prevents me from reaching my ultimate arrival and a place where I see myself. Is it true that time is something that limits arrival? In my experience, I've noticed that things have been extremely perfect, but it requires patience, but I'm not being patient. It is just the patience, but that time is something that deeply bothers me as the days go by.
What limits arrival is the realization of the truths that need to be realized in order to arrive at that arrival. And if those are not realized, it doesn't matter how long you wait.
Hey, Kapil. Thank you very much. I've listened to a lot of your content, and I feel like I resonate with it a lot. But the more I think about it, the more lonely it feels, the more separated I seem to be from the society Like you say, everything feels dumb, stupid. All pursuits are rather too simple or too useless. Is this something that you see with others too?
So if society is full of stupid people who are not seeking truth, and you are seeking truth, why would you feel anything but isolated from that? Why would you not feel anything but isolated from that?
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much. Your words have helped me a lot. My question is also kind of the same as the last question. How do you deal with when you realize...
No. There is no dealing with anything.
Hi, Siddha. I hope I'm audible. So my question is, in the pursuit of truth, there are other things like, you want to get independent, and then there's the society prioritizes you to get independent first. So, is getting independent part of, in the pursuit of truth?
Well, every facet of life has a truth. Truth is the only practical thing there is. So every part of one's life, every topic one pursues, every discipline one pursues, every facet of his life has certain truths, and the rest are false.
First of all, it's an absolute honor to be in the room with you.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Yeah, I've been looking for you for my entire life. I've started to realize that at the beginning of the year, and it's absolutely been a very transformative process, and I've absolutely nothing but gratitude for you. And I absolutely realized that there's absolutely nothing, like literally nothing, that I want except for arriving at truth. And it just changed my everything, my entire outlook. There isn't a second of the day, and even while I sleep, that goes by without me examining, without me seeing my mind, without me seeing that everything's driven by ego, without me seeing that every pursuit's driven by pleasure. It's just changed everything, like literally, just completely everything. So my question just centers around, you've written a discourse about the true value of wealth, and I also absolutely see that basically the true value of wealth just lies in buying dominance over one's mind, as you've also correctly stated. So my question is just, in order to learn more perspective perhaps on the things you've wrote, for example, on the Siddha arrivals and all the other topics, I guess the only question is, I'm a student, and I guess the only path really is to make the millions in order to gain access to your material. I mean, I'm at the point I would swim across the Atlantic Ocean basically to just get more exposure to all facets of your work.
In all honesty, I do my best to provide basically hundreds and hundreds of hours of content for for individuals who obviously will not have the opportunity to consult with me, and so and if those things are beneficial, then they are, and if they're not, then they're not. But I can only be in so many places, and I can only speak with so many people. So all of the content that I have out there is certainly that the free stuff that's out there, from the discourses to the various podcast interviews and and what's out there. Those things may be of help to you, but beyond that, I'm not sure what else I can do. But
Absolutely, absolutely. I've transcribed every public discourse, everything, like letter by letter, and I'm extremely grateful. That there's nothing I've ever learned in my life that is of such immense value.
Thank you. I'm glad it resonated with you, and it looks like you have the sincerity to pursue truth, which, quite honestly, it's fairly clear that you've already embarked upon that path, and you're literally, it won't be me, but it'll be your sincerity which continues to guide your way. So good luck with everything.
Hello. I wanted to ask you, what is the difference between what I believe his name is Matt Arnold, the individual who had the solo climb without a rope? What's the difference between what he set out to achieve? Obviously, it was a great feat, but what's the difference between that and any old experience chase?
The purity with which he pursued the craft.
Hello. So my question is about basically, in today's day and age, everybody is so hyper stimulated. People have very short attention spans. It seems like people don't value morality, moral values as much as they used to in previous eras. How can we go back to the age of Bharat, to the age of Akhand Bharat? Where
There's no we. There's no we.
But
we is insincerity, and I can tell by your response that you're not ready for this answer.
Is there a way for me to know fully, without any doubt, that I am on a path of truth?
One who is desperately desirous to know that means that they desperately desire to know truth. If one really wants to know if they're on the path to truth, then the very fact that they really want to know demonstrates that there's a deep desire there. So that question sort of answers itself.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. I don't have pursuits for, I'm not really pursuing happiness, and I don't see any purpose in life. But I see myself naturally being drawn to things that keep my attention, that are stimulating, pleasure chasing. And so I see that my life is being wasted, and there's nothing that I can do about that. But the reason that I'm letting myself just waste my life is because at some level that's okay with me, right? That it's fine with me that I'm wasting my life. But I may not feel that way in 30 years or 50 years when I'm close to my deathbed. Is there any further, deeper truth than that, or is that just naturally how?
Well, honestly, what you have expressed is sincerity. What you have expressed is honesty. Everything that you have just expressed demonstrate an insight into your own condition and where you are. And as ironic as it may seem, if there is going to be truth that arises within you, or for the desire to seek it, it is going to arise precisely from such plain honesty.
Hello. If one has embarked upon truth for quite some time and has the financial means to be more, I guess, removed from society, wouldn't that be a logical path to take, given that society is untruth?
If that's what they truly feel in their bones, it wouldn't be a prescriptive thing that's the right thing to do or a good thing to do. Really, it is a self-generated and self-motivated act to do that, which results from one's deep down recognition that is the case, as opposed to any type of compulsion or pressure that is put on that person by someone else in any shape or fashion. So long as it's 100% arising truly from you, then there's no insincerity in it.
Thank you.
Hi. I wasted all my life. I worked very hard for many years, but I haven't got any result. I'm unbelievable unlucky person. My question is that how I can change my ill fate. Thank you.
What ill fate?
Being so unlucky.
I don't know what that means.
I waste all my life by working so hard, but I was unsuccessful. I am an unsuccessful person, so I don't know how to change my fate.
So then your question is how to become successful then. That's your question. That's what it sounds like.
No, it's just by luck. By luck, I'm not successful. Everything shows that I should be successful, but suddenly something happened and changed everything. For example, I burned one night before my exam. I went for something, but I forget to bring my pills. And everything, I go for one exam and computer crash. It happened so...
You are asking about how to become a success.
No, I think it's luck. It's not about success only, it's luck.
But your unluckiness is because you are unlucky at becoming successful.
Yes.
So then you are asking how to become a success.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so that very recognition is what perhaps you need to understand at this moment, so that the question isn't camouflaged by other things that aren't true. You must strip the question down to its bare bones to ask what you really want to ask. And despite your repeated objections to the fact that you were seeking a path to success, which isn't wrong, but simply your rejection that that's what you were truly seeking is what you have learned tonight.
Hello again. I have a question. In my path of truth, I keep self-mutilating myself because every time I think of moving forward, I feel like I want to call it an avatar that wants to come out of me to move forward towards the truth. It doesn't feel right, so I keep going back to the same previous default that I have set up. And I don't know how to get out of this loop. And it's self-mutilation after self-mutilation after self-mutilation of my persona because there's no...
What does self-mutilation mean as you describe it?
Like everything, like the details of... Whenever I try to continue on my path, it's like, okay, there is no... I don't know if it's depression at this point that I'm getting at, or if it is... It doesn't feel like truth. And because it doesn't feel like truth, I don't pursue it further. And I'm stuck in that loop.
Well, the mind is a very complex thing. And if one is seeking truth, then they will seek the truth of their predicament. They won't try to get out of it. They won't try to seek relief. That isn't a bad thing or a good thing. But truth is the recognition of where one is. That is truth in itself, as opposed to trying to seek to run away from it. But facing it isn't truth either. It is the pursuit of truth about the situation that one is in. That is practical. And truth is nothing if not practical.
Hi. What do you do with the guilt and regret that arises when you're on the path to seek the truth? You analyze your past behaviors and the decisions you have made, and sometimes guilt and regret.
There is nothing to do about it.
Okay, you just accept what you have done and...
No. I did not say accept.
Okay.
Accepting is a doing.
Hello, sir. I wanted to ask how to find meaning in life. Where do we start? I don't understand it. Like, I'm studying BTech right now,
Life
but I do.
has no meaning.
Hi, Siddha. How are you? I mean this question with the most sincerity, even though it may come off a little bit silly, but I am extremely dedicated and serious in what I do for a living and my business. But in other aspects of my life, I'm not. And as simple things, just like doing the dishes and cleaning my house, I find to be the most wasteful things that I could ever do. Do you have any insight to why this is that way?
I don't think you care. I could say that because of X, Y, and Z. It wouldn't change anything, so what?
No, I genuinely do care. I just don't know why exactly I hate.
No, you don't care. You don't care why you don't like something. This is just a curiosity question.
Hi, Siddha. I was just going through a question you have been asked that life. You said life does not have a meaning. Then how life is wasted?
Yeah, you're not ready for the answer because you took my word for it that life has no meaning. And if you take my word for it, then you're just going to take my word for it and keep asking me more and more questions.
I'm just Dr. Gupta. I've been following a lot of your work, and it deeply resonates with me. I've been trying to explore the idea of purity in pursuing something. From what I understand, if something is done for the sole purpose of some hidden motive, it's impure, but purely if it's pursued for the sake of its own end, it tends to be purer. Am I understanding this correctly, or is that understanding incorrect?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Hi, Kapil. Would like to know if there could be desires which are almost impossible, or if a desire is impossible, does that mean that it's not a desire?
I don't know what you're talking about because you're being very vague, but if one deeply desires something, everything tends to be possible.
Hi, Kapil. I firstly want to just say thank you for your work and for the period of time in my life that I found your work. Even though I have accomplished some measure of success, like in my sport, I felt like I never really knew the truth about anything. And now I'm pursuing something totally different. And my question is, when you find the truth about something, does thinking stop? So my example would be, let's just say like I ran track. If I found the truth about whether it was how to start well, I feel like I wouldn't have the need to think about what I was going to do at that point. I would just execute. So if you discover a truth about a particular field like art, would the need to think about what to do or like what
And
colors to
do
choose
you
for
mean
life?
by what to think to do you mean in terms of bodily mechanics to carry out the action?
No, so it's more like interior design, like it's more like art, like choosing a color or whatever, or like knowing what colors to like put together. Like, would I have to think about something if I knew the truth about like what would it take to organize a space, if that makes sense?
Well, going back to your earlier example of, I think it was running that you said. So you said if I had recognized the truth, if I stopped thinking, do you mean, let's say as it relates to running, are you talking about you would stop thinking about bodily mechanics or technique or that kind of thing?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because The trouble with everything, and the sports and business are the places where it shows up as much as it shows up in spirituality. It is the world of sports coaching is all the technique and method and body mechanics and form. Those are the god of sports coaching, and therefore that leads to nothing but the being burdened by thought. And so the entire sports coaching industry has missed the boat because they're all looking in the box, which actually hinders performance massively as opposed to accentuates it. So the person who's thinking about their form or their technique absolutely sabotages. I mean, they may even win, but that's because everyone's sabotaging. So they're just a little bit less sabotaging than everybody else. But if one compares it to the ultimate of what they could become, absolutely, they're way, way behind. And that is because everything is done through the lens of technique, and then sports psychologists come in and say, well, stop thinking. And that's just stupidity. I mean, this is just juvenile kindergarten, type of nonsense that people I can't believe who are adults who just talk this way. The Buddha spent how many years on, in drinking his own urine and spending years sitting under a tree and, devouring truth before he's able to stop thinking. But you tell an athlete to go out there and just stop thinking. It's beyond idiocy. I mean, it's laughable. It's almost criminal and malpractice to say such stupid things. But one has no choice but to think, if one believes, as one is taught, that it is the technique that is going to make them great. And so that applies to everything. And that philosophy, that belief, is carried over into spirituality, to meditate in the proper way and to practice mindfulness and to have meditation instructors, which itself is unbelievable, that you have a meditation instructor to teach someone to meditate. It is sheer stupidity. There's this is rampant. This disease is rampant across all areas of the culture. Across all of society, there is nothing but prescription. There is nothing but method and technique. And that is why human beings never really become ultimate. They just become better than other people, but on a relative scale. And that's why there is parity in every domain. So whether it's in interior design, as you're speaking of, or whether it's in running, or whether it's in conquering the mind, or whatever it may be, it is not related to technique. It is related to a devotion to understanding the truth and where performance truly comes from. And all of these questions which nobody has the bandwidth to ask because the conditioning is so deep.
Thank you.
So is freedom from involuntary thought and unnecessary pain? Or pain in general?
That's part of it, but so what?
Well, then what's the full...
Who cares? I mean, you're not anywhere near there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking the question. And therefore, if you're not, which is fine that you're not, there's no condemnation against you. But what is the point of asking questions of what Paris, France looks like and have it described to you? What are you going to do with that? It's just curiosity nonsense.
Hi, Kapil. I've caught myself prescriptionizing some of your work, and that actually created more problems than I had before in certain areas. Earlier today, you were mentioning that whatever someone is moved by, they're moved by, and there is no good or bad. If something feels true to me and that, in a way for myself contradicts what I'm reading as truth in your writings, my initial feeling is that there must be something that I'm not seeing or understanding. My question is, if I recognize myself falling prey to a prescription, what would you say is the most effective way to overcome that?
That is. I mean, the mere recognition that you're prescriptionizing it is sincere. I mean, there's nothing to do beyond that. I mean, that is the recognition. I mean, if one recognizes what one is doing, then they're not being blindsided. They have open eyes and then they see what's going on.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for the session. I want to know how do I know which decisions arise from the truth rather than from following prescriptions? Because these days I'm constantly bombarded by them. So how do I know
it would be safe to assume that everything that you're thinking of is prescriptions. And that's because the conditioning is so deep. That would be the wisest place to begin. I'd like to open the floor to those who have never asked questions before.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for this. I've also faced some issues myself, which I created when I prescriptionized some of your works atomically. But those resolved itself the more I listen to more interviews and stuff. So my question is, when one realizes that all is greed and there's a lot of emptiness and stuff, how do we deal from the lack of desire which results in that?
Well, there's no how do you deal with anything. It's whatever you realize, then you realize it. There's nothing ever to do.
If you were me right now, what would you ask yourself?
It doesn't matter. The only person that matters is you. So it doesn't matter about getting, the right question or something that sounds the best or whatever it may be. You are in many situations in your life which are acute. You are in various circumstances which you have been fighting for your entire life, which plague you. All of those things are the things that matter. Looking good on stage doesn't matter.
Do you think there are unseen forces at play that if someone was sincere enough, they could tap into them?
Who cares?
Hello, Siddha. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the work that you do. Since the time I have discovered it, that's the only thing I read and listen to apart from my day job. And it has given me a lot of clarity. I was kind of follower of spirituality, and I could see through some of the faults that I used to feel inside, but never questioned. But after your work, I could see things more clearly. So thank you for that. I have one question. My question is, what is the effect? What is the cause, the effect of which is our evil mind?
The mind is not evil. The mind is simply untrained.
Hey, what's your take on morality, and is that also prescription?
Yeah.
I've been repressing emotions since childhood. My heart longs for truth, but my emotions aren't all there. I think this situation prevents me from realizing truth, but I'm not clear on what it is, whether I'm habitually avoiding emotions, lying on a dormant volcano, or whether I'm kind of damaged. I was wondering if you could clarify.
Yeah, I cannot clarify for you because I don't know your situation.
Hello, Kapil. I needed to ask if the rarest individual has the sincerity, and where should he look inside of himself to find the sincerity more and more?
I mean, there's no geographical place inside of yourself.
Hi, Siddha.
When you say the mind is untrained, what or how do we train it after? Like, what do we train it after? Is there a template or model behavior?
No, absolutely not. There is not. Mental models are for stupid people. All of these things that you hear in the intellectual realms are nonsense and garbage. The mind has to be trained towards truth. And that cannot be done through any kind of academic or intellectual pursuits.
So that's what I wanted to ask. Like, nobody knows the truth. Like, it's hidden. Where do we look?
No, the truth is not hidden. The truth is the truth is hidden because the individual has layers and layers of conditioning that is layered upon the truth. So you seem new here. That's why you're asking these kind of questions.
Yeah.
And and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Most or many of the people that are here have spent months to years reading through my work, and therefore a lot of the questions have sort of been, at least the direction of them have been answered for them. Therefore, they don't begin to ask from the very beginning. And there isn't enough time in the day for me to be able to bring you up to speed to where you would have the necessary prerequisites, so to speak, in order to understand the basics. And so if you wish to, listen or read, you may. There's no compulsion to do so. But that's why I'm simply explaining to you that there's no answer that I could give you at this particular stage that would be of any great meaning.
Yeah, totally understood. Thank you.
Hi, Siddha. I have a question, but I don't know how to ask that. If you can help me, how to put it in words. This entire life, what we are in the human body, is it a truth or a lie?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, I can just elaborate a little more.
You don't have to elaborate. You don't have to elaborate. Just to express the question clearly.
Okay. So my question is: so we are in the physical body, doing in this materialistic world. But is it a truth? Is it a true world? What we are? We came for this in this physical body?
No, the world is false. Society is false. Everything around you is false.
Mm-hmm.
The world is in fact evil, and it's evil because it is based purely upon untruth. So all of society is false. Everything you see around you, all the books that are published are false. All the newspaper clippings are false. All the media is false. All the nonsense that the spiritualists talk and the motivational speakers and the self-help and the self-development and the gurus, it's all false. And it's all false because it is all based upon getting you to believe something.
Is man good or evil?
Namaste, Siddha. What is doership?
I think you already know.
I would love to hear more insights from.
It's too general of a question. Do you have a specific question?
Is doership a necessity?